But I remember they're saying the future, all the future's going to be is everybody is judged on their merit. So that's meritocracy. Now here's when I started talking to everybody about McLuhan stuff, and then McLuhan came forward, and this is what McLuhan / Everine said, that for 200 years the machines were bigger than humans. So humans had to fit into machines. And they predicted this in the late 80s. This is before the
original computers, massive.
We had to fit into the Leviathan of the analog media. He says, what's coming... So when humans had to fit into machines, humans were fragmented, fitting into the machines. Now with the digital new world, it'll flip so that humans can pop from machine to machine, and the machines will be fragmented, and the humans will be bigger than the machines. Right. Now McLuhan called that dehumanization in the mechanical Charles Dickens era, and in our time, it's superhumanization. So that's been the trend. That's where he predicted the general effect of Web 2.0, where you're king of all media, and you edit and slice and splice your
But people still think they're dehumanized.
They still, that's the fox. They still in Web 1.0 or even before Web. They still think, they do not see the digital environment. They see the mechanical.
And that's where ION comes in and allows us to know that we are super.
Our environment made you gods, and we're the astral plane, and we're going to update you.
And if we don't take over the cloud, they will.
And that's why I can dismiss all that he said for 2 years, updating you to the techno-facts, because I've got another agenda, so that you're not subject to the techno-facts that made you a god by default.
Yeah.
See,
that's interesting. Web 2.0 does allow you to be in multiple places at once, and then here's ION comes along and said, "Oh no, there's 3 or 4 of you."
That's right.
Which reinforces.
He stretches the definitions of the AP, of the anthropomorphic physical.
Anthropomorphic is that putting human characteristics on.
Yeah. You think that everything is based on you, but if you start to have the ability to be a snake or a horse or another form, then what is your core form? It's not the human form. It can be if you choose it, but it's up and grabs what your core form was. And since we never had a beginning, we don't know which form was first, and there was no first, so all forms are equally candidate of a beginning. And that'd be why you could be a snake. So, and that's what they say in, fourth world Aboriginal cultures, their gurus could do this. They could shift and shape-shifting, yeah. And so there it is. You're shape-shifting in Web 2.0. You can have all kinds of masks on your digital persona. So you're technically already a shapeshifter beyond the Aboriginal, but the Aboriginal becomes a retreat fantasy or an image that resonates with the actual shape-shifting you're doing with your multiple bodies.
And FaceTime, when you're FaceTiming, you are shape-shifting.
So it's not a chemical body experience.
No. Shape-shifting is a chip body reality.
Yeah.
Right.
And you can control it. Everything Ian said for 2 years before he left is updating you to, you don't know you're God. Your kids are God. They're living it. They don't have it defined. They still got to go to church and go to school. But they're actually living God realities, making their words are speaking. And so he can say, now, I'm going to communicate to the 1%ers because, okay, we've made you aware that the media is ahead of you, and you got to catch up to the media life you're living, your 5 bodies. But now we're going to move you into the hexad, septad, and the octad, and the RNA, and the world of anomalies and spiritual alchemy, which is undescribable. But you just experience it by showing up on Payday or her show, or maybe even Ginney's show. You hear Matthew Rhodes, flunky fucking 99% loser, got my time in the old days. He was on this week. I haven't heard of you. I want to hear that.
Good job on him.
These guys were all just irritating people in the old days. Imagine go up with his lousy phone and want to talk about the water coming up to 52nd Street, because he lived on 52nd Street. That's all he ever asked about. Is it coming? Is this the week when I get drunk?
But the day he did call in, which I did put on the show, and from rehab, which was so fucking hilarious.
Now he's in rehab?
No, remember the day he
called from the clinic.
Rehab.
He was driving the psychiatrist crazy.
And we let him do ION.
And you let him do ION. And he answered the question so great. I'm like, oh my God.
He didn't know he was rehearsing 99% dogma. See, all the old iONettes, they identify with one of those things. Now, you have to answer, why can ION isolate it? Because he was just bringing you up to date to the techno-fact. As McLuhan said, the highest decibels of consciousness were happening in the 50s with the TV environment. And then it's even more so with the digital world.
What did you mean by ION can isolate it?
Well, he could cancel everything he said for 2 years and say that's all 99%, because he was just telling you, catching you up to what Bob was describing his chart about the Android mean. Okay, but we're not about the Android mean, we're about the hexad, not pentad. septet and octet. So he now begins to go forth. And
that's
he's
what
fucking
I'm
ornery,
talking
he's
about.
aggressive, he's violent, he's sweet, all this nutty ion that we're experiencing.
Well, he was drawing
Going
us
about
in.
Nigger wanted for fucking 20 minutes with Cleveland Bird. Did you hear that 20 minute hysteria? We're all laughing and Cleveland's yelling and Bert's black and Evan's in there.
Oh,
and, that's it. And we're all going nuts about Nigger wanted.
I know, I kind of cringed a little bit.
Yeah, you all cringe at first.
Okay, let me ask. When we
It's
talk
great
about
when Carol becomes a student. At certain times, she actually sits and listens. We are aggressive. Ion told Carolyn to stop relying on her nice effect. He said, now get aggressive. You assert and declare what's going on. No longer trying to look like a nice person so that they'll like you. That's what Ion told you a few months ago.
Well then forget about
Yeah, forget the. He asked you, why haven't I been on it?
Yeah.
Right? Well, if you were the
I
new
said we
aggressive,
don't have guests.
no, we don't deal with the past. We're dealing with the present. You got to get more fucking declarative. You don't have to be nice anymore.
Yes.
Okay. We don't have to do nothing about pushing forward. It's going to go at its pace, and Ion's in charge, and nobody can stop us because we're the only thing that's new in 13,000 years.
It's almost like part of us thought going here would open up something or other. And maybe it did, maybe it didn't, but we're never going to force what's going on.
The people are responding, not the experts. They're obsolete. It's post-information, post-expert world. It's the lucky people.
I know.
Listen to this, guys. Listen.
I'm sorry, honey.
Well, this was the Hubble.
Yeah.
So the Hubble is looking at a nebula again, a trizillion light years away. And this nebula has been pushed open, and the distance across the nebula again is 100.
Well, something you can't imagine.
Exactly.
You can't visualize
Everything
it.
they said,
Yeah.
this nebula is birthing, not stars, not suns, not planets, entire galaxies.
Yeah. Millions.
They said billions.
Billions
It's
of clusters
popping
of
them
billions.
out, just popping out these
Yeah.
galaxies. And the turmoil that they said wind, creates this big, huge bowl in the nebula. And here is unbelievably huge distances, unimaginable numbers of because we can't even imagine a galaxy. So how about a billion
Yeah,
galaxies
it's fucking stupid.
being created
Yeah.
as Hubble's watching it, and it was
It's a bullshit. Why don't we just say it's fucking bullshit?
Greg, but it's bullshit.
Yeah, it's fucking bullshit because they want you to visualize it. So they make it impossible to visualize. Why don't you say there's nothing to see? It is fucking powerful big notes. It's Gurdjieff's octaves. It's sound. But we're
The stars are in
visualizing.
our
So we're
eyes.
trying to keep it within our eye world and we're impossible, contradictory, unimaginable, unvisualizable fucking
piece
distance.
of it,
It's
correct.
fucking meaningless. And then it's making you feel less than. You're actually bigger than those trillions. Because you're eternal, so you're a quadrillion.
That's exactly what we said.
That's what we
We
said.
got to say to Bob, stop saying you can eat Saturn. 'Cause
Yeah.
We gotta eat a nebula now, Bob.
We can eat God. I fucking eat God for
That's
lunch.
right, I eat
Whatever you
God
think
for
God
lunch.
is. The guy who created the $1 trillion universe is
There
I
you go.
fucking eat that for lunch.
Exactly.
And then I shit it
Are
out
you
and then
guys
do an
having
enema.
fun together?
What'd you say?
Oh, yeah.
What?
You guys don't usually travel to. I mean,
No.
a
Never.
couple times.
We realized we haven't been on the plane together since May 6 years ago when we went to Hawaii.
How fun.
It was the last fucking time. She's traveled more than me. But in Europe, I went to 7 countries and did 12 flights.
Wow.
I did a lot of flying.
But you're having fun together right now.
No. She's competing. It's a problem.
It was so cute, me in the gown and Bob in the tuxedo and taking the pictures and Bob acting like the president.
Yeah, I did. Megalomaniac
And
president.
he looked so cute.
Oh, you
Oh,
guys
you did
look
look
gorgeous.
very. So back to what you said. Why are they showing us just impossibly images of something nothing can comprehend?
You can't visualize it. What's the framework?
Exactly. What was
Yeah.
the point of?
You can't even conceive what 10 years is because it's subjective what the last 10 years. I realized in Europe, I started to realize, holy shit, the wall went down a quarter of a century ago. I still work because my chart goes 9 I still work. The young kids don't even know that fucking happened. I got to update my imagery of what people are thinking. They don't think about the wall. They don't even know what happened.
Not unless they see a couple pieces of the wall left
Yeah,
standing. with
or they
their
go to
TV
the
on.
Charlie's checkpoint and
That's
there's
right.
all this thing. And thank you.
Now, if you look at this whole concept of the universe expanding, I don't know if you've talked to Ion. I know the Evergreen says
You know where it is? the first 10 items, 11 items I did. What's it called? Whatever. It's called something on the the 11 items. Elvis.
Oh, yes.
Elvis adds to the universe, and he brings in the expanding universe under the Elvis section. You would know. You've heard enough.
Yeah, Elvis, universe, tree, blah, and then you end with Father, Son, Holy Ghost.
And
the whole thing's an hour, but it's 10 installments. That's right.
Yeah, 11, I think. And we added one maybe. But the Elvis one is when he started. That was McLuhan-esque, and I point out, but he wasn't ready to talk about McLuhan. But Elvis was adding to second nature, adding to first nature. It was we create, and our imagery goes out there, our media styles. And he talked about the expanding of the universe, I think, within there as part of that.
I remember Catholicism when I was growing up, little St. Luke's school. God always was, always is, and always will be. And they would say your mind can't conceive of something that has no beginning, no end. So here we see this universe, and they're saying the same thing. The universe is expanding. Well, what's it expanding into? Something that wasn't a universe?
So here's what Nelson Thal told me. He's a Herbert W. Armstrong fundamentalist.
Okay.
He said that God created the heavens to stun man visually about the immensity of the universe. That's the purpose. It's a hologram there. It's an art form to stun you. That's what he will quote the Bible somewhere. It says that.
Sort of like that movie with Jim Carrey where he's on the boat and he thinks it's a whole
Truman
Show.
Yeah, he thinks it's a whole
world that he lives
world
in.
out there. And then somebody comes from outside the curtain or behind the curtain. Or
He's the
He was
Nazi.
kept isolated in this little reality.
Yeah.
The Truman story. That's right.
So look at this. So
That's good.
Nelson's saying that God, he's incredible, and we can't imagine him. So he creates immense light shows to give you glimpses of how great God is, but you're nowhere near how great God is. But he creates incomprehensible fucking scenarios to approximate what you're supposed to feel awe about and less than.
So the telescope is showing us a hologram.
Yeah.
So we
And
not
as Ion says, it's always 100 million years past. You're looking at the past.
Exactly, yeah.
The sky ain't there in the present. There's not there. There's nothing there. It's dark
But
matter.
not only
It's dark matter.
we not only put ourselves in the box, we also put ourselves in this huge universe, which makes
As
it
the eye took over. That was the
Small.
beginning. That was before writing. The Egyptians and Aztecs or tactile cultures, they begin to map the sky. And that was the beginning of visual space. But it was iconic visual space. Not alphabetic visual space. That's way later. Because the Eskimos lived by ear and fucking hallucinating animism and shape-shifting. They didn't have any framework. Once we started to get framework for some reason, another level of falling into the density of matter, we started mapping the sky. We started emphasizing our eye. And that was a big limitation. And the real action is in the sound levels. That's what Zappa wrote about for years.
Okay.
And when we were, one day, McLuhan let me sit in his class about 1976. At the seminar, and he was showing a film, a documentary on NASA, and they watched it, and McLuhan was quiet, and the students watched how the astronauts were trained, and then he says, notice that they're not telling you the sound levels. They're just describing what you see and what you do visually. There's nothing about what are the sound levels of space. It's so unconscious of sound in the American imagination because we're visually biased. And I thought that was a good point. When we were kids, she's thinking me being a baby boomer, when we were kids, we never would imagine this world of the internet and that. And I said, well, actually, I did because I read McLuhan. And he predicted the fucking internet in 60 years. Who's McLuhan? I said, Annie Hall, and they get her mind. Oh, I think I heard him. And I said, he predicted all this stuff. And later I said, really? And I said, yeah, and I read it, so I was way ahead of the game. So I'm bragging about myself. And she says, well, how do I find out about this guy? I said, well, there's a book called Understanding Me, which is a ridiculous title probably. And it's a collection of his essays and interviews he did back then. And you go to the one where in 66 he predicts to Robert Fulton exactly what the internet's going to be. And I said, get that book, Understanding Me. So we parted with me saying, don't forget, Understanding Me, get that book. She said, yeah, I will. She won't. She goes, I will. I know it. I got to know this. That's right. And she was sort of reasonably smart, so maybe she might do it. But I had surprising things. They're just saying it's not cliche things. Every time they said something, no, that's not true. This is the way it is,
Bob doesn't do.
I don't do small talk. I get to the fucking my message immediately. I stay on message like a fucking guy on CNN.